Creepshow is back. Hey everybody, it's Tim, one half of a Horror Movie Yearbook with your horror hotline for July 19th, 2018. Yeah, that's right, Creepshow, the 80s anthology movie directed by George Romero, co-written by Stephen King, will be coming back as a television series on Shudder, a streaming series for Shudder, the streaming service offered by AMC. Entertainment Weekly had the article. Clark Collis over at Entertainment Weekly had the article yesterday. I'm just going to read it off to you to give you kind of a sense of what was in it. Well, not a sense of what was in it. I'm just going to give you what was in it. Do me a favor, go over to Entertainment Weekly and check out the article so I don't feel bad about just reading it off on air. But I'm going to give you that, and then I'm going to break it down a little bit after. The streaming service Shudder has given the green light to a Creepshow TV series inspired by the classic 1982 horror anthology film of the same name. EW can exclusively reveal. Greg Nicotero, the Walking Dead executive producer and makeup effects wizard, is attached to direct, executive produce, and supervise the show's creative elements. Let's skip ahead here. Creepshow is one of the most beloved and iconic horror anthologies from two masters of the genre, George A. Romero and Stephen King. Shudder general manager Craig Engler said in a statement, "We're thrilled to continue their legacy with another horror master, Greg Nicotero, as we bring the new Creepshow TV series exclusively to Shudder members. Creepshow is a project very close to my heart," said Nicotero, who met his makeup effects mentor Savini while visiting the set of the film and later collaborated with Romero and the zombie movies Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead, among other projects. It is one of those titles that embraces the true spirit of horror, thrills and chills celebrated in its truest art forms, the comic book come to life. I'm honored to continue the tradition in the spirit which it was created. The new Creepshow series is scheduled to debut on Shudder in 2019. Each episode will tell original stories and be held by a different filmmaker, with Nicotero directing the first episode. His company K&B Effects Group will also handle the creature and makeup effects. The show will be produced by The Cartel and Monster Agency Productions, Taurus Entertainment, and Stryker Entertainment. The rest is the Cartel CEO talking a little bit. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for this. The main reason to get excited for me is Nicotero. Of course, right now he's known for working on The Walking Dead. He's directed a few episodes. He is the main effects man on them, and the effects on Walking Dead are fantastic. But his first major effects job, as they mentioned in the article, was Day of the Dead with Romero, and he was under the tutelage of Savini before he formed K&B Effects with Robert Kurtzman and Howard Berger. But he has done, look down through his filmography, he's done effects work for, Creepshow 2, Evil Dead 2, Phantasm 2, From Dusk Till Dawn, Scream, Kill Bill, The Mist. That's just to name a few, and he does have some directing experience as he's directed, like I said, a handful, maybe more, of Walking Dead episodes. But this isn't just exciting news due to his pedigree. This is exciting because I don't believe he comes cheap. This tells me that Shudder is going to go all in on the series, and they are going to be putting a budget behind it. This is not going to be something made on the cheap or any sort of cash-in. Not that I would expect that from Shudder, because Shudder is on a bit of a roll right now. They're coming off The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, which had its issues streaming-wise, but it created quite a buzz over the weekend, and it seems to have been a big success. But they've also, in the last couple weeks, they became home to the sci-fi anthology show Channel Zero, which many have called the best horror show on television. So they will become the exclusive streaming home for that, and I believe they're going to start new episodes of that in 2019. They've also been doing a great job ever since their inception. I've been a subscriber since the beginning, and they've been doing a great job of getting exclusive festival favorites on their service. Mayhem and Prevenge were on there last year, two of my favorites from last year. Downrange and Cold Hell, two of my favorites from this year, are exclusive to Shudder. And later this year, they're going to have Revenge will be an exclusive of theirs, exclusive streaming selection of theirs. That's another festival favorite from the last year or two. This and Joey Bob also, though, feel like Shudder, their first step into the mainstream, though. Those are two huge properties for horror fans, obviously, but they also extend out past just horror fans. I was getting texts from people about the Creepshow news about people who have who aren't as hardcore into horror as a lot of people who have a passing interest but just love Creepshow and they wanted to share. They also carry a lot of nostalgia for horror fans, and you have to make sure they treat them right. But that was what was so encouraging about The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, is it was treated right. They did not, from what I've seen, it was a Joe Bob Briggs hosted movie show, and that's what it should be. And Creepshow needs to maintain that same spirit. It was a perfect mix of nostalgia and something new, which is what I want the new Creepshow to be. And I also, just to touch, I hope they bring Joe Bob back again. I hope that wasn't really the last drive-in. But just as an aside, we seem to be in the midst of a bit of an anthology series boom right now. You've got Channel Zero, the aforementioned Channel Zero, Black Mirror. Jordan Peele has 2 of them. He's got the YouTube streaming TV show Weird City and his CBS All Access show, his All Access Twilight Zone, which I believe is still coming out. I haven't heard much on that lately. I don't know what this means for the M. Night Tales from the Crypt now. This and Creepshow are very similar, or that and Creepshow are very similar. Obviously, as Creepshow is inspired by Tales from the Crypt, I assume it's dead as of now. I believe I read that it was dead. But maybe this might light a fire back under it if it's successful. We'll see. I don't know what this says about TV viewing in general right now. I can't. That's such a nebulous topic that I don't even want to dive into it. But maybe people just want shorter movies. Maybe people are becoming exhausted with long investments in TV shows and just want to. Maybe this is what people think, or those in charge think, and want a shorter commitment. That's why we're getting these anthology series where you can tell. But even that, I mean, Channel Zero tells its story throughout the season, but people seem to be big into that 40 to 50 minute tell a story and move on right now, and hopefully for me that continues, because I prefer that model. I like anthology shows, and I also like that old TV model of, I kind of like the CW Buffy model, where you have a running story in the background and you tell a self-contained story for 35 to 40 minutes, and then touch on that running story in the background for the last 2 minutes. And I kind of like that, and sometimes when I start watching a newer show, I kind of miss that. What do I want to see from this Creepshow series? I'm excited for it. I want to see an updated version of Creepshow, and what I mean by that is I don't want to see it set in the 80s or 50s. Obviously, they can do stories set during that time period. I have no problem with that, but I want it predominantly set in the now. I don't want something that relies too heavily on nostalgia. I don't want to see any. I was gonna say I don't want to see any old segments remade or updated, but maybe there are a couple I do. Now that I think about it, but I want more morality tales set in the now, 2018, because honestly we could use some, and 2018 is a good jumping off point to tell some morality tales. I basically want something like Drag Me to Hell. Drag Me to Hell, I think, is a perfect modern example of an EC comic put on screen. I want stuff like that again, and I want stuff like the original Creepshow. I will cheer, and it sounds like in the article NIcotero knows this as well. That's the exciting thing about NIcotero, is he's a fan of Creepshow. He worked on it. I think he'll do it justice, but I will cheer the first time I see those comic panels on screen, and I'm sure we will. The effects, this is another thing that won't be an issue. NIcotero and his crew do a fantastic job on that. I don't want it overly gory. I want it to be. I don't want Creepshow to get overly bleak or too straight-faced. I like the original tone of I like the Creepshow tone. I like that 50s comic tone where it feels like you're a kid again watching something you shouldn't be watching. That was kind of the fun of those 50s comics for a lot of people, is they'd say, oh, I'm just going to the comic store, getting a comic, and you come back with something like Tales from the Crypt. I want something like you're getting away with something, but I don't want it overly gory. Gore's fine, but I don't want it overly gory. I want more kind of silly effects, I guess is the term I'm going to use, because I can't think of another one because it's 6 a.m. and I just woke up. But I want some humor in it. Darker humor, sure, but the original Creepshow is kind of funny. The end of Father's Day is very funny. There's there's a black streak through those original EC comics as well, a dark humor streak, and the movies have that as well. Those first two especially, they're playful in their humor. I don't want something like Black Mirror, which from what I've seen can also be kind of funny at times, but I don't want something that dark. I want a more playful streak running through it. I think that would be cool. And most of all, I want to see fresh voices take their chances at telling this kind of tale. Of course, I'm excited to see Nicotero step behind the director's chair, but I want to see some new voices as well. Of course, like if they could get King to take a run at a script, that'd be amazing. I'm not gonna turn that down. Or Savini behind the director's chair for 1 or 2 episodes. But I don't want this to turn into some sort of Masters of Horror reunion tour. I'd be a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you. I want younger voices, newer voices, different voices, telling this type of sale. I think I was going over kind of a wish list in my head, and I just came up with some ideas. I think someone like Karen Kusama would be amazing, as both of her movies, Jennifer's Body and The Invitation. I guess she's had more, but those two stick out. She's done some, but both of those have kind of a morality play aspect to them, especially Jennifer's Body. Jennifer's Body is more the tone I was thinking. I think that fits more in with Creepshow. But she has worked in the anthology realm before with XX, and Roxanne Benjamin is another one who worked with her on XX. She has a background in anthology filmmaking, like Southbound and VHS. So she's done that before. Corley Ferga from Revenge, the director of Revenge. It's a little edgier than what I'm thinking, but I loved the way she used color in that movie, and the way she used color, the kind of neons and bright colors, and put up against dark subject matter would be awesome in Creepshow. That kind of, when I think of Creepshow, sometimes that's what runs into my head. It's kind of those bright colors contrasting some of the stuff we see on screen. Of course, Nicotero has ties to The Walking Dead, and I would love to see him dip into that pool. Michelle McLaren is someone who he has worked with on there. She's done episodes of The X-Files, which has its Creepshow elements as well. She's done Game of Thrones as well. Ernest Dickerson. Oh man. If Greg Nicotero could get an Ernest Dickerson episode behind the chair and on the new Creepshow, I would be ecstatic. Dickerson, of course, was Spike Lee's cinematographer early in his career, but he's also directed movies like Juice and Demon Knight. He's gone on to direct episodes of The Wire and The Walking Dead, and I believe Fear the Walking Dead. So that would be amazing. And then, okay, I'll say there is kind of a master of horror. If you could get Darabont to do one of these. I know Darabont. Oh, wait. Maybe not. The Walking Dead relationship may have been frayed. He just popped in my head when I thought Walking Dead. There is really no modern day equivalent to Romero. I know people have thrown out Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele seems pretty busy when it comes to stuff like this. It would be amazing if they could get Joe Hill, King's son, to do an episode. If you haven't read his novella collection, Strange Weather, read it and see what I mean. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of as a morality play that would definitely have to be toned down, but it works in that same sort of style. Of course, I think the Joe Lynch that we got in Mayhem would be a nice fit here. Something kind of playful and something that kind of deals with certain themes that would carry over into a Creepshow show. Mike Flanagan, of course, the new King of King, who just did Gerald's Game, and then Kolshin Widmeyer from Starry Eyes and Pet Sematary. They have worked with King. They seem to know their King, and I think that influence could carry over heavily into something like a Creepshow show, and I think they'd be a good fit. And obviously, I would love to see some of the old guard as well. Maybe a mixture of the two things would be cool. But that's it. I've kind of rambled on about what I want to see from a Creepshow, why I'm excited, and I am excited for it. It premieres in 2019. My bet is we will get this sometime in fall 2019. I kind of think that's the perfect time to debut a Creepshow anthology series on Shudder. It fits in with the whole Halloween feeling that we'll be getting around that time. Creepshow is kind of a perfect Halloween movie. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. If you don't have Shudder and you are a horror fan, at least check it out. They have a Fire Stick app that is really cool. They have like 6 channels that just stream whatever movie they put on there. Just a heads up, I know there was some New Line horror stuff that was premiered late last night at Comic-Con. Willie and I are going to dive into that. We're going to talk about the It stuff that was talked about and shown. Probably touch a little bit on the Annabelle 3 that's going to lead into The Conjuring, is how I read it. It sounds like the Warrens will be back for maybe at least the opening segment. I wasn't really clear. I just woke up and kind of read it about 10 minutes ago, so I'll have to dive back more into that. But we're going to wrap up Comic-Con next week. Tomorrow I'll be back with a weekend preview. I'm going to review the Kane Hodder documentary, To Hell and Back. We are also, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/MidwestPodNet. You can donate to the podcast network. We do all sorts of shows on here. Of course, Horror Movie Yearbook, and also Gone to Texas is out right now, Midwest Game Nerds. But patreon.com/MidwestPodNet, you can donate to us for $1 a month, as little as $1 a month. So we really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody that's listening right now. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.